Hello, everyone, and welcome to DTH On Demand Presents the New Bob Leads Talk Tea. I'm Lindsay Donnell, a current company artist with Dance Theater of Harlem, and tonight I have the privilege of having so many lead dancers from the past years joining me here tonight to talk about doing New Bach and how it all came together. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the Donald Williams.
Hello, everybody. I'm Donald Williams. So good to be here and talk about this wonderful ballet. I was a principal dancer with the company. I was with the company from 1977 to 2004. So 27 years with the company. I was actually also in school, but it was such a lovely uh, Nubach the ballet was just such a wonderful piece to be the one of the original cast members of. And the performance that you just saw, they did so well on it, and I'm so proud of them, and I'm so proud to have been a part of the making of that wonderful ballet.
Yes, I can't wait to hear more about, having an original cast member. I'm like, this is great. And speaking of, I think we have your partner here as well. We have Tanya Weidman Davis.
Hi, I'm Tanya Weidman Davis, and I danced with Dance Theater Harlem from 93 to 98. I left, I came back, and then from 2000 to 2002.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And you're
I
an
think,
original New
yeah,
girl.
yeah, I was gonna say, New Bach was this, really transgressive, I think, experiment that Robert did. I feel like it was like this rupture and it was this immersion, this snap of um, doing some really untraditional things inside of the rep of the Dance Theater of Harlem lineage. And I think that's why it's a piece that is still done because it resonates in a way where it speaks to the contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Beautifully said. I can't wait to hear more about that. But first, we'll bring on some more of our panelists. We also have Pi Jimenez here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pi. I was with Dance Theater of Harlem from 1988, off and on until 2004. And really happy to be here and reconnect with everyone and meet some new people. I'm really grateful that this ballet is being continued to be performed so beautifully. I think there's something about it that really captures the unique identity of Dance Theater of Harlem. And I love dancing it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the ones that just kind of gets in your soul. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I'll bring on Caroline Roche Barnes.
Hello, hi everyone. So I'm Caroline
Hi,
Rocher
Caroline.
Barnes. I was with Dance Theater of Harlem from 1999 until 2004. I did few months in the Dancing Through Barrier ensemble. I think I joined it was fall 1998. And so for New Bar, I was actually original cast for the corps de ballet. And then I danced the lead with Eric. So I remember being in the corps de ballet for the original, and then I got a chance to dance the lead. It was fun. I mean, it's the music is just so enthralling. You have no choice but going with the flow, and the choreography also. It's Robert's trademark to mix classically American, Mr. Mitchell used to say, and with his little touch. Just I think it would also showcase our feminism as the DTH ladies. You know, we were really empowered. I feel for me during my time at Dance Theater of Harlem, that's how I remember being really. We were fierce. You guys,
I cannot. And just the snap, even in the ballet.
That's right. Exactly.
Lean into that fierceness. So, I love that. Well, thank you for being here, Caroline. Next, I would like to introduce Devon Doan. We'll get another man in here.
Hi everyone. My name is Devon Doan. I was with Dance Theater of Harlem from 2008 to 2020. I was with the Dance Theater of Harlem Ensemble for 4 years prior to the main company's return, and then I was with the main company from 2012 to June of last year. And I actually think the first time I performed New Bach, it may have been either in a studio showing or in a lecture demonstration when the company had just, the ensemble had just started touring again in 2009, 2010. So yeah, it's always been one of my favorites, for sure. Yeah.
And I have been with you, I think once, right?
I think Lindsay and I danced once together, and I've danced with Kirsten Fintroy, I danced with Ashley Murphy, Renee Barrett Kim. I also danced with there's Crystal Serrano, who's currently in the company. Like I've had an opportunity to dance with so many young ladies, and beautiful, beautiful ballerinas. And pardon me if I'm forgetting anyone, because I've done it in so many different iterations. So yeah, it's always been one of my favorite ballets, and I'm really grateful that I'm really glad that we're talking about it right now, because it's always been a DTH staple.
Yeah. Well, and I'm excited to have one of your partners here.
Yes.
Renee Barrett Kim. You bring her on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Barrett Kim. Hi. I started at the Dance Theater of Harlem actually when I was 4 years old, and I just danced throughout my whole life at the Dance Theater of Harlem. And I was fortunate enough to dance with Devon in New Bach. We were together in the ensemble from 2002 to 2012, I want to say. Good chunk of time. I just remember watching, when I first saw New Bach, I saw Donald. Donald is like holy royalty at the Dance Theater of Harlem. He is like king there, and I saw Ty do it, and I just knew I had to do that ballet. I mean, just watching them do it, it was just so beautiful, and with the music and everything. So I'm very honored to be on this panel with you guys.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here. And I was actually telling Renee right before we went live that I learned New Bach from a video of her doing it. So this is really cool to, just all be together. So, and then last, I want to bring on my partner that you probably saw in the video, Anthony Santos.
Hi, my name is Anthony Santos. I've been with DTH for 3 years now. I know, it's crazy. And Lindsay and I performed, first time I performed New Bach, I think was 2018. I just remember it was at Lincoln Center outdoors, and it was hot. It was like 98 degrees outside, and there were no wings, so people could see us. And I just remember Lindsay and I like huffing and puffing. It was so hot. It was really hot outside. But yes, New Bach has been like a nice journey for me personally, because it's just not like what I'm used to. But yes, that's my favorite Robert Garland ballet. So I'm glad to talk about it with all of you.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the tea then, right?
Got my red cup.
All right, solo cup. Come on, red solo cup.
Lindsay, there's something really interesting about the dynamics of this group too. And like, just for us to lift up that, like, this is a multi-generational passing down of like this embodied practice that Robert Garland set forth, and that it can continue in that way, and hopefully in the future that it will continue. But just to honor that, like, that's actually a thing that's happening with Black folks dancing. It's important.
It's very important. I know. And I think that's been one of the kind of silver linings, I guess, of the pandemic, is that it really has been able to unite us in ways that, I mean, I've been with the company 10 years, and I think this has been so cool to be able to like talk to you guys and kind of have you guys at our fingertips and share in this way. So I just feel grateful for that.
This is probably one of the best things about the pandemic, is that we've started to connect with people from the past and from and people that we wouldn't normally be connected with, because we'd be so into what we're doing wherever we are, you know, and this is making us stay connected with the people that have gotten us to where we are, or to, you know, stay connected with the people that are part of our family, which is the Dance Theater of Harlem family, and part of what's happening and moving forward in dance here at DTH, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's such an honor to see all the different generations. Like, I joined probably the latest out of everyone, and it's like a real honor to just see everyone from like each generation and to be able to talk about the same ballet. I think that's pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So starting with like, because Donald and Tanya, you two were the dancers it was created on. Do you want to talk about that process?
Well, it's
Wait,
funny.
sorry, I just lost some of my speaker, but no. Yes, I'll say, I would just really like to say, working with Robert, I've worked on him and been the original cast member for a couple of his ballets. Two of my favorite ballets in the company, Return, and as well as Nubach. And it's the musicality, actually the connection of the old Dance Theater of Harlem. One of the things, just for an example, the ballet that made me really want to dance with Dance Theater of Harlem was called Forces of Rhythm. And the connection of the classical dance with popular music was something that immediately clicked with me. And once I saw the dancers dancing to, I guess they were dancing to Aretha Franklin, or dancing to Rufus Thomas, and doing classical moves, there was a connection that made me connect both classical, like get more into the classical dance, as well as get into the funk of the popular music. What was beautiful about the making of this ballet, I think, was that he showed the funk in Bach. You know, I mean, people don't always think of Bach as as funky music, but there's funk in Bach, there's funk in Prokofiev, there's funk in Ravel. All those great classical music, all that great classical music has got some funk in it. And this brings out, Robert's choreography shows you where that is, and that connection of the different types of music. It's such a wonderful process, and a wonderful chance to work with great dancers, and like Tanya Wyman. It was wonderful to create this wonderful piece with her, and with the rest of the dancers as well.
Yeah, I feel like I remember the moment that it was a time period in Dance Theater of Harlem where we were getting a different kind of choreography. And it was a moment where people who had never danced together, Robert saw something and said, okay, these two people who have never danced together in the company at all need to come together and share this experience so that even within the context of making the work, it's intergenerational. Because Donald had a very different social group inside of the company than I did because I was younger. And so he brought us together to create, I think, this interesting synergy that probably would not have happened if Robert hadn't done it. And so in the context of creating it, it was like, it was new in the context of he allowed for a physical expression of like a little bit of improvisation. So it started to create this new way of choreographing that wasn't just about, let me tell you what to do and you have no thought process in it. So I enjoyed that aspect of the creative process. And before we came on the call, I was just recalling that I remember I left for 2 weeks to get married, and then he worked with the core, and then I came back, and we continued to actually build the principal structure of the work.
Wow, I had no idea that you guys kind of hadn't danced together before. So
it's great that he brought because with me, he was still bringing back the old, and Tanya with the new, putting that together and putting the Robert Garland stamp on it made this whole new thing, you know, and it was a wonderful combination.
And if I remember correctly, I think, Ty, weren't you with Eric Underwood in that process?
I wasn't here when you guys made New Bach.
Oh, okay.
I was away at the time. I don't remember what I was doing. Finding myself. But New Bach was the first thing that I danced when I came back. I had been gone for a few years. And New Bach was like my welcome back to the company. And it was a wonderful welcome. There's so much joy and laughter in that ballet.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, ballet isn't always funny. It doesn't always make you laugh. And I always love that moment where the first time the guys do their shake and, you know, the audience gets it. And it's just, especially in that first movement because it's so puffy, you know what I mean? And so it's like the joy really uplifts you. And I always just loved working with Robert in the studio. I always just, as an artist, I just trusted him so much. And I trusted him to always take care of the dancers in the rehearsal process.
Yes.
I always felt very safe working with Robert. And I didn't always feel safe in the studio. You know.
yeah,
But I always felt really safe with Robert.
But that speaks to just the three of us in the context of we were in the company with Robert. So there was a very different relationship that we had with him than the other people who are on this particular call.
Exactly.
Yeah. I also
We actually danced
met
with him.
Robert.
Yeah, in the company.
I
Yeah.
danced with him and I studied with him. We had a teacher in common with Madame Darvash.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So we go eat. I first met Robert when I was in high school. And he was in Juilliard at the time. And he was doing like work study at Madame Darvash's studio, you know, like cleaning and like signing people in and all that stuff for free classes. That's where we first met. So
Wow.
certainly seen me grow up. Yeah.
So when you guys were creating it, did he say like, let's do the Soldier Boy here? And then everyone was like, all right, we know it, we got it? Or how did that, like the urban vernacular parts of his choreography, how was that for?
I think some of that stuff Robert had in his head already. Like he had seen, you know, he's always been right up on what the latest dances and what the latest music is. He's always he's like a DJ. He's got all the best music, etc. So he already had that stuff in his mind, I think, to do that. But I bet you he probably just, I wasn't in there for always for the core stuff, but I know Robert had an idea in mind, but then he would probably also ask the other dancers, the dancers, what do you feel right here? Is there, give me something like this, and then somebody would do something, and he would play on it. That's the way he did with working with me with Return. Yeah, he like Tanya said, let some of the improv situation take on into the choreography.
I think it was actually the harm. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just say this really quickly. Robert was always asking us, "What are you listening to?" We were always exchanging CDs, which are like ancient tools,
right?
But
yes, the Holy Grail
artifacts,
right?
I actually remember like going into the archives, the library that DTH has on site, and seeing older videos of this ballet being performed, especially with, I think it was Caroline and Eric that I was watching a video of, and they were actually doing the Harlem Shake in it at that time. And yes, it was the Harlem Shake, and they were coming down stage. Yeah, so I think at different times in like different iterations of the ballets, he's found different things to transpose and put in to continue that idea of this living embodied practice that Tanya was talking about before, like this continual passing down and transforming and evolution of things. So I think that synthesis of the classical and the contemporary and the and the vernacular dancing is something that's really, really beautiful and happens so seamlessly in this and so many of his other works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it was nice to. Oh, sorry. I think it was nice, like you Tanya. Ty was saying that we also got a little bit of say. It wasn't really, it has to be this way. No. You hear a lot of no, it's not this way, not that way. You're trying to fit that mold or be. So it was nice to have a little bit of participation. Yeah, Donald, you were mentioning as well. And I think for us, because I was part of the Corps de Ballet, I love the fact that also we got to dance. I mean, the corps, we got to dance too. It's not just doing tapestry in the back. And so we were also part of the block of the choreography there. So it was just fun, that music. I think my favorite part is, the man he created, the solo he created for that male dancer solo in is that the second movement that. I was up at DTH 2 years ago to help you guys with tones, and I saw Christopher. He was rehearsing it, and with you, Anthony, as well. So I think it was so. I love that. When you pop up back to home, you go back to home, to DTH, and then you see you guys. You guys are the next. The current generation, and it's nice to see. Like Tanya, you're saying that it's passing on. And with little subtle changes, like Lafon you're mentioning, because of course it's a new generation, it's new people. So you're bringing your own, you're adding your own touch to it.
Absolutely.
Tanya said something earlier about the partnership between her and Donald, and I really feel like Robert Garland did the same thing for Lindsay and I. When I joined, I felt like I joined a complete new world, and I feel like I was playing catch up, and Mr. Garland knew that Nubak kind of made me a little nervous. And so I feel like he put me with like Lindsay, somebody who has done it for so long. And so then that was like the start of like a relationship, because now we're so comfortable dancing together. We talk about it all the time, how like, oh, we can't wait to give Nubak a kick again, because we feel like we're like really in sync. But at the time it was like a really new relationship. We're like somebody who's been in the company and someone who's completely new, and just like throwing them together. And he did it on purpose. I think he knows what he's doing.
Mr. Garland always knows. Absolutely.
But I think that sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I think that is something that Robert, in the beginning of his DTH choreographic career, was really trying to be conscious of, is allowing the opportunity for everyone to dance, and also the people who had not had an opportunity to come up to the fold, to be able to have a platform, to actually express new ideas and new concepts.
Absolutely.
And
So one thing
of
I wanted about was the walks in the second movement, because Renee, as I said, I learned that video, or I learned from your video. And so a question we'll start with Renee, but all the ladies, what is the imagery that you use, or how, just talk a little bit about that moment, because I feel like,
Well, yes, the walks in the second movement, I think, is one of my favorite parts of New Bach. And I happened to watch Caroline, who is like the queen of walking, regularly in sneakers, do it first. So I had such beautiful imagery from watching Ty and Caroline do that walk, and just the image of the men coming down the diagonal first, how powerful they look. I think the first time I saw it, the lighting was a little bit different as well. I believe the lighting, it was just like a single beam of light, and the men came through, and then here came Caroline, and then she just crawled up onto point, and I was like, ah! So just from that, I just knew that, okay, I have big shoes to fill in this walk, and try to find my own way with it too. Just it has to be very creature-like. I imagine, because I'm very small and I'm always being told to move bigger, move bigger, move bigger. So I just try to really focus on the intensity of the grab of the foot and the big arch of the upper body. But yeah, that walk is amazing. I love that walk.
It is amazing.
And I have Caroline and Ty to thank for the beautiful imagery set before me. But also for Robert to even come up with something like that, just to go from just walk, a plain walk, to all of a sudden grabbing up on, and it seems so simple, but it's really not. It's a moment where you're kind of on the stage by yourself. You're a little vulnerable. You're just being led on by the men, and then they disappear, and now all of a sudden you have to envelop the stage. So it was always one of my favorite parts of the ballet, and it still is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I remember Robert insisting on that curved body. So there was the walk was very luscious, but then that you had to lean over. So it was a little yeah, sorry. But so he was that contradiction there was it was kind of tricky to navigate. But Renee, I'm glad you made it go on.
Well, thank you. I tried.
Yeah.
That's great, though. That what I really appreciate is that Robert carried on a tradition of Dance Theater of Harlem. The walk has been so important in the history of Dance Theater of Harlem.
Yes.
The DTH tip.
The DTH tip. Oh, I tell my students about the DTH tip.
This is an extension of that tip, taking it to a different level. It's a slow, lamenting, sensual, place that you're taking that same idea of making the walk. This isn't fouettes. This isn't, balancing. This is making a walk so beautiful and so important that it means something, and that it can mean something, It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
I didn't grow up at DTH, but I can always tell when I see a lady walk or tip. I'm like, oh, she must have studied at Harlem. You can tell it's like a specific way of moving your body.
Mr. Mitchell, I remember he would just make us walk back and forth in the studio for hours. Just tip,
Really?
tip, tip, tip. Just keep walking. Just keep.
I teach my students that. Yeah, I teach my students the DTH tip. They all know how to do the DTH tip. Of course, we returned down here and we taught it to them. But after that, everybody I teach them walking across the floor. Instead of chaînés, we're going to do the tip. And they do the tip and they're getting it. You know, so want to pass it on. That's what we have to do.
Yes. The walks, they're so empowering.
Absolutely.
So one thing, since we have so many partners here too, do any of you guys create a story together when you dance it, or how does that work for you guys, for each of you?
You want to? I didn't really make a story for this.
Yeah.
No, I let the music. The music is so beautiful, and so much. The music is saying so much. I just kind of got into the music, and that made its own story to me. You know, and just like Valentin said, two people get on stage, and there's a reaction and an action and a reaction. So there's a story already. There's already a relationship that happens. And it just kind of happened naturally with the choreography and with the beautiful music. I was just into the music. The music is just, even like just the solo. Just thinking of just feeling the music put me in a certain mood. Made me think of a certain emotion. Yeah. Just and being able to work that through music was a wonderful thing, not necessarily having to make up a story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with the music too. I think, I connect, because Robert has such a wonderful way of blending the movement with the music. It's just so like seamless and it just comes together in this perfect harmony. So I think for me, especially the second movement, getting to connect with my partner, Devon, that was always, we was
in love though. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, yes, there she is. Yes.
Yeah, we were. Every time we finished the ballet, you could just feel like,
Yeah, and I think for me, like coming out of that second movement solo was probably like one of my favorite moments, like coming out of that second movement solo and going up into the corner and meeting, you know, my ballerina and seeing her, you know, turn that corner, and that first moment where we kind of like get to touch again. You know, each partner kind of brought something different out of me, actually. Like each of the ladies that I danced with, I think allowed me to tap into a different aspect of who I was as an artist. And I think, you know, with Renee and Ashley, I got to be a little bit more of a romantic, you know, and with Kirsten and Flavia and Lindsay, I got to play, and I got to balance, you know, all of these different aspects of myself. So I really got to play so much in that ballet, to be honest. Yeah.
I feel like because it was choreographed on me, I was able to experiment with how I wanted to perform femininity every time I performed it. And so like the way you move your hips or the decisions that you make to like angle your shoulders and all of that stuff, like it was really just like a freedom, and also the ability to feel like I was an adult performing.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, I was just thinking.
That I didn't feel infantilized. I felt like it was an opportunity for me to be me.
That was deep. I love that.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
That's exploration, right? That's exploration and exploring you and discovering things in you, you know, through the choreography. So that's beautiful.
And you did that very well, Tanya. I remember those rehearsals. You were owning the stuff. You were like, there's a lot of power, and then that's very sensual at the same time. So it was really
it's interesting when I watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember all that stuff. Like there were like sensations that were coming up of the process as I was watching the performance happen. So it's really interesting, the virtual power that happens from watching each other do it in these different iterations of time.
Wow, beautifully said.
I think there was one other thing. I think Nubak also taught me care for my partner as well. I think it also taught me how to listen to my partners, which I think is something that's really valuable in today's society, to open up the space for care, to allow whoever it is that you're working with to be and exist, and to fully support them in whatever they are exploring at the moment. I think that was something that I really, I will always take away from my experience doing Nubak with all of my partners, honestly. So thank you, Renee. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you to, everyone that I've ever danced that ballet with. And thank you to, Mr. Garland for allowing me the opportunity to dance that ballet. Because to be honest, Nubak was the first ballet that I was like, I have to do this one. Like, I have to do this ballet, and I was like, can I learn this? Like, this is something that I would really love to learn, and it's the only piece that I've ever asked to learn in my entire life, as a principal dancer. But like, it was something that was really important, and I think pivotal for me in my growth as an artist.
Well, Devon, I want to piggyback on that. I agree with you. I think Nubak really taught me a lot about just partnering, because I felt so comfortable just being on stage by myself. But the moment I had to partner with a lady, I think I would get a little nervous. I feel like I wasn't really listening to her. So I really thank Lindsay, because like, she really was just like, always just like, yeah, we got this. And we would do it, and there was such a connection. And Nubak, actually, I was more so ready. I was like, okay, I'm not ready for this. I just need to do the core. But Mr. Garland was like, no. He was like, you're going to do this with Lindsay. I was like, oh, okay. You never back down. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I do feel like Nubak was that ballet where like you had to become one with your partner, even when you're not dancing together.
Right.
That's such an important thing, and I'm so glad that you guys got that, because the thing in my career that really pushed me forward was the partnering. Once I've got the partnering, I understood the whole picture. Once I started to know how to take care of my partner, and once I knew how to make the connection between my partner, the joy that I got from that seeped into my own personal dancing by myself. Mm-hmm. That the whole process of it made a complete feeling of performance for me, and it's really good that this ballet, the partnering, there's some tricky stuff in there. There's some tricky things, so you would have to trust each other sometimes, and it kind of informs you for other things that you will dance later on too. Just like you said, Devon, having that dialogue and talking to your partner and getting to the point where you can actually trust them and listen. Just like in acting, one of the main things that people need to do is to listen. The best actors are the ones who listen. Same with the partners, listening and feeling each other. So that's great that y'all got that. I'm happy about
it's funny because we talked a little bit about that moment in the studio when Robert asked us to do the arabesque where the woman stands on your thigh.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a very trust issue, but I still have to say, I think I may have said something wrong to Robert that day or done something bad. Let me see. I'm gonna get him. let me make her stand in his hip socket. Arabesque.
But even in the context of us experimenting with that, Donald,
Right.
we didn't experiment too long because we figured it out pretty quickly.
Right.
So it was not awful.
No. It was a challenge. It kind of was a challenge. I mean, I kind of felt like he didn't think that it was really going to work, but let's just give it a shot, right? I'm like determined. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make this work. And you were such a solid presence, you know, and you were so trusting with me. I mean, really, you trusted me. You could have.
Donald, how could I not? How could I not? I mean, come on. Like,
it was good.
I knew I was in good hands.
Absolutely. And this is another thing I want to say, Tanya, this is like one of your first major like principal roles, right?
It was the only role I ever got choreographed on me at DTH.
it was, and you jumped right in there, baby. You jumped right in there and you turned it out. So, you know, you stepped right up and started to explore and started to find your artistry, you know, and it was wonderful to watch and to witness and to be a part of.
And I think, you know, those were kind of the seeds to even my own choreographic career. I mean, the possibility of, you know, experimenting and, you know, Robert doing his thing and then, you know, being really cool with, okay, you know, insert something or, you know, do a little something here. And like, so I was like, yeah. I'm kind of digging the freedom of being able to create.
Right, absolutely.
Yes. Well, I love talking to T. We have a few questions from the audience that they want us to answer. One question is, what does performing Nubak today mean to the performers when and if they consider the Black Lives Matter movement? How does your political body stand in its work?
That's a question.
Yeah, that's good.
And I can kind of go ahead and start with going back to the urban vernacular. I remember one time I asked Mr. Garland if we could update it. And I don't remember what the social dance of the time was. And he was saying that he put that in there because that was the first time that urban dance kind of went viral. That he
was a Soulja Boy.
Yeah, he put the Soulja Boy in there, and so he wanted it in there and a nod to how, like, a nod to Black lives and kind of preserving that. So I thought that was kind of a really incredible. It just like opened my mind to how much thought went into his choreography and how it did represent like Black Lives Matter and kind of brought in a broader network. Does anyone else have?
I was going to say that for me, Nubak was a pathway forward to this understanding of how these two worlds could kind of mesh, you know, classicism and Afrocentricities, you know what I mean? And how alike and unalike they are, but how much they complement each other at the same time. You know, I think even as a choreographer, you know, myself, I like to play, you know, I use choreography as a way to combine all of these different aspects of myself. You know, I started dancing my church. So for me, originally, it was always about the spirit, right, and the energy and the things that come up while I'm dancing. And I think Nubak was the first time that I got an opportunity, especially in that second movement solo, to really explore, you know, the space and what it meant to be a singular Black man living and existing in space on his own terms. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's always been a pathway forward for me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that every time, every time that we danced with Dance Theater of Harlem, it was profound after that. The thinking was for a long time that Black people didn't have the right bodies for ballet and that they lacked the intellectual capacity for ballet. And so every time we danced, the fact of our existence was was so subversive. And I think that this ballet also captures that and makes fun of the world that really sought to exclude us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ty. I mean, that's totally it. And I think that I would say that, dancing Black bodies is the epitome of BLM.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, Black. Okay, so went to the Black Lives Matter protest, and some of the kids on our street made a poster, and it said "Black Joy Matters."
Yes.
And so, yeah, every time we get to express that we're not just like downtrodden, it's not a terrible thing to be Black, it's a beautiful
Exactly.
thing to be Black.
Yes.
It's powerful,
well, and also,
Yeah.
And the politics of, Black creative longevity through this work, New Block, speaks to just our citizenship as American artists.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that radical expression of joy is also something that's so palpable in this work throughout, even in the second movement, but the expression of humanity, the parts of us that people don't get to see, the parts that aren't tangible, it's not the external thing, it's the essence of your humanity. I think that you kind of get to see a journey through, through each movement of this work, which connects so much to the Black Lives Matter movement, because it's not just about the external aspects of, our oppression. It's about our humanity, most importantly.
Absolutely. And so I think this kind of segues beautifully into the next question. How does performance and self-expression overlap, combine, collaborate, and/or conflict?
I see that one printed out.
Well,
I was waiting for
It kind of went over my head.
We were all we're looking at the screen. Where is it?
Yes, right.
But performance is self-expression, so they're not detached from each other.
Mm-mm.
So in the context of performance and self-expression overlapping, I would say they don't overlap, they're just the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so as you collaborate with people in the studio, you have this microcosm in a small space where you have all of these creative people that are there to do a specific thing and a very particular thing, and that's to use their bodies to express something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think in the case of New Back, what we've been talking about is we were also excited that we had a little bit more freedom, because sometimes certain choreography, we don't, it's not always the case, especially in a classical ballet company, it's it has to be this way. So I think that's what, we were able to really, Tanya, you really embodied that, your femininity, you played with that, with that, what you were saying earlier. So I think that's really the thing with New Back. We were really able to maybe explore a bit more than other ballets at the time.
The freedom of making choices on stage, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to do that, in the ballet idiom.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes me miss live art now, because nowadays you have this virtual thing where you can really create a perfect video because you can edit it and make it so perfect. But there's those moments in ballet where you see someone make a choice and it's oh, wow. or when something like second movement in this performance with Lindsay, there was a moment where the promenade in Arabesque where we were both sweaty and the hands slipping. Oh my gosh! And I remember that show. That moment ruined me. I was like, oh my God, crying, pissed. But it's like, it's very humbling, and then it makes you really, for me, really miss live art, because when I go see performances, it's moments like that when you see the best of the best dancing and maybe the floor is slippery and how they make those conscious decisions on what they're going to do next. Do you know, it's those moments that it's like, wow, like these are human beings who are living their truth on stage. So I really miss live art, and I hope it comes back soon.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you just fall flat on your face.
And you gotta
get back up.
Alert! That's live theater. It's live theater.
Right. It is that. I mean, you know, I always remember watching, it was a Foresight show, Fine for Ballet at the VAM, and 10 minutes into the piece, he comes in and is like, oh, sorry, we gotta do it again because something, you know, they had like a mishap, they've unplugged, you know. So stuff happens. Sometimes it's like, and you got to work with it. There's no editing live.
And that's live, because you literally have to figure it out. You got to figure out when it's happening. You got to course correct in the moment. There's no like, let me pause, let me rewind, let me see if I can like, you know, figure out a different frame to insert.
Lindsay did a great thing. She put her hand right on the edge. And
she did all
the hand moved right onto the next, and then you all were able to scoop right out of it with no problem. See?
And that's also my favorite, is that you can't dwell in that moment.
Oh no.
You can dwell later, you can cry later, but in that moment, you really have to move on, you know? You really have to like stay in it.
Yeah. You've got the rest of the ballet to do.
Yeah.
Hello.
I feel that.
Well, I think that is about all we have time for tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Robert Garland, for making this enduring, beautiful work that
Robert Garland, beautiful.
So relevant.
Yes.
Beautiful performance tonight too, you guys.
Thank you.
More to come.
More to come. I can't wait.
No, and more talks to come too, and coaching and all of that.
So this is the 20th anniversary of New Bach.
Oh, it is.
Oh. Wow, and me and Lindsay
just discovered that. It's the 20th anniversary. Do you believe that?
That's why I thought we were doing this.
Well, maybe we were, and I just didn't know.
Surprise!
It's so funny because this is the 20th anniversary of New Bach. I just did an intro for the Firebird. It's 40 years since we did the Firebird. And I was like, wait a minute, is that right? 40? 40 years.
Yes.
Yeah. 20 years, you know. Now on to the next 20, you guys, you know. Carry it on to the next place. You know, what's gonna be the next step? What's the latest thing that we can add to?
What's that move?
It's gonna be robots.
Just don't do the floss. Just don't floss, please don't floss.
No.
Don't
Floss.
that thing.
Absolutely not.
Please don't do that. Please don't.
These new dances aren't as cool as like the old ones, in my opinion.
They're too short.
Oh, you sound like an old man, Anthony. These young kids today, not as cool as we used to be.
You're 12.
many now. Like there's
I
new
can't
TikTok
keep
every
up.
day. And,
There's a new one every 5 minutes.
I can't keep up.
but yeah, well, this has really been awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. So,
Thank you.
Going out.
Yeah,
There it is.
good.
Great to see everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Buddy. Mwah, 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 mwah.
and thank you everyone for tuning in to DTH On Demand. We have one more week coming up with Firebird. It'll air next Saturday, along with the supporting content starting Thursday, Friday. And Newbach will be on YouTube all throughout this week until next Saturday. So if you missed the show, tune in again, and thank you and good night.